Surviving the darkness, my battle with depression. Have you ever felt that everything around you has become empty? Have you ever wondered how the world keeps going while you are stuck in place, not knowing what to do or where to go? Have you ever woken up in the morning and not wanted to get out of bed, not because you were lazy, but because you couldn't find any meaning in the day? If you feel this way, you are not alone. I have felt it too, and today, I am here to share my journey with you. At first, I thought I was just exhausted from life, but after a while, I realized there was something bigger. Everything felt blurry, my life was just a series of repeated days, tasteless and dull. I was living in a world that seemed full of colors, yet I could only see gray. I tried to tell myself that I would be okay, but words were never enough. Every morning, I woke up feeling like I was stepping into a new prison. I couldn't stop thinking about the things that scared me, the things that made me feel like I wasn't enough. As the days passed, life became a burden, like a mountain pressing on my chest. I wore a smile on my face, but I didn't feel it. Do you know what's worse? Seeing others live their lives with hope while you can't find hope in anything. I listened to their laughter, watched them achieve their goals, while I was drowning in a sea of unanswered questions. What happened to me? Why am I living like this? Today, I want to tell you about my journey with depression, how it started, how I fought, and how I finally found my way out of that dark tunnel. But more than that, I want you to know that it's okay to feel this way, and you are not alone in this. This is my story, but it might also be yours. At first, it seemed like just a difficult phase, something we all go through at times. But I discovered something important. There was something deeper behind this feeling. Life went on as usual for others, but for me, the days were turning into a never-ending nightmare. You might be wondering, what led me to this point? It was a combination of reasons that gradually piled up, creating the emptiness I felt. At first, it was the constant pressure. The pressure to perform well at work or in school, the pressure to be perfect in everything. I believed that I had to be the best at every aspect of my life, and that made me feel like I was fighting an endless battle I could never win. But it wasn't just external pressures. There were also the thoughts that took control of my mind, the thoughts that convinced me I wasn't enough. You are worthless. You can't do this. No one will notice you. These voices in my head spoke loudly, especially whenever I tried to achieve something or feel happy. Over time, those voices became the only truth I believed in. I kept thinking about the past, punishing myself for old mistakes I had long forgotten, but my mind brought them back every moment, as if I didn't deserve to be happy or successful. Have you ever felt this way? Do you sometimes hear an inner voice telling you that you're not good enough? That you can't keep up with life? It's a tough feeling, isn't it? But I want you to know something. It's not the truth, even if it feels that way. This was the beginning of my deep fall. But what happened next? How did I overcome the darkness? I can't say I found the answer overnight. It was a long journey. But in those dark moments, a faint light started shining inside me, telling me that there was a way out. I couldn't see the way clearly, but I started looking for it. I want you to imagine for a moment, do you sometimes feel like you're drowning in this cycle? Do you find yourself believing there's no escape, that life is just a repeated cycle of suffering? But trust me, there is always a way out, even if you can't see it right now. Every small step toward healing is a big step in your journey. At that moment, I decided to face these emotions. I refused to remain a prisoner to my negative thoughts. It was the hardest decision I had ever made, but it was also the first step toward healing. Are you ready to take that step? After deciding that I could no longer stay in the prison I had built around myself, I began searching for something that could help me escape this endless cycle. At first, it was confusing, like searching in complete darkness without seeing anything. But over time, I realized that everything needs a small beginning. I started asking myself, what can I do to feel alive again? Were there ways to change my negative emotions? How could I begin to regain the hope I had lost? The first step was acknowledging my feelings. I stopped hiding my sadness or frustration. I started thinking about the moments when I had been happy, those moments filled with laughter and love. I missed those feelings so much, but I allowed myself to remember. It's okay to feel sad, and it's okay to feel weak, but you shouldn't stay in that place forever. At first, it was difficult to accept that I needed help. A part of me believed that I had to be strong on my own. But I realized something important: I was not alone. There were people around me who were willing to support me. I talked to a few close friends and told them how I felt. This was a big step for me because I had always feared being a burden to others. But to my surprise, they were ready to listen and stand by my side. In addition, I started looking for other ways to ease my emotions. I began practicing deep breathing, and these exercises had a wonderful effect on both my mind and body. Whenever I felt anxious or sad, I would sit down, take a deep breath, and focus only on my breathing. This gave me a sense of inner peace, even if just for a few minutes. I also started looking for small things that made me happy, like taking a short walk or listening to calming music. These activities didn't seem like much, but they started opening new doors for me. I began to feel a slow but gradual change. Let me ask you, have you ever tried doing something small that fills your heart with peace? Even if it's just for a few moments, wouldn't that be better than staying trapped in sadness? Remember, no big change happens overnight, but every small step has a great impact in the end. At this stage, I started seeing life differently. I wasn't fully healed yet, but I had started living again. And little by little, hope began to appear, like a light emerging at the end of a long, dark tunnel. This was the first sign that I was on the right path. After I started learning how to take care of myself and begin healing, I faced another challenge. It wasn't as I had expected. The road to recovery was long and full of obstacles. Even with all the small efforts I was making, there were times when I felt like I was going backward. In the morning, I would wake up feeling like I was starting my day well. But as the hours passed, negative thoughts would creep back into my mind. I can't do this. I don't deserve to be happy. I found myself returning to the same dark thoughts that had once controlled my life. But I learned something important in those moments. Progress is not always linear. Sometimes, life pulls us back a little before pushing us forward again. And that's okay. We shouldn't feel like failures just because we struggle. Now, I can say with pride, even in difficult moments, I can keep going. What helped me during those times was focusing on the small things. I remembered something a friend once told me: take it one day at a time. Don't think about next week or next month. Just focus on today, on the moment you are living right now. Those words were simple, but they changed my way of thinking. Instead of worrying about everything at once, I started focusing on the present moment. If today was difficult, that didn't mean tomorrow would be the same. And the more I tried to focus on the little things that made me happy each day, the more I began to notice a slow but steady improvement in how I felt. Have you ever tried living just in the moment? Letting go of all thoughts about the future? I want you to remember that life changes when we live in the present, when we allow ourselves to enjoy each minute as it comes. The challenges I faced during that time were tough, but each experience taught me something new. I was learning how to deal with my emotions and how to be honest with myself in every moment. And as I started applying this mindset to my daily life, I began to see change, slow but certain. Now, I believe in something important: there is no quick fix for overcoming depression. Healing is not easy or fast, but it is possible. And change begins with small steps, one day at a time. After some time, I began to feel a real change. It was as if I had been walking through a dark tunnel, and suddenly, I started to see a small light in the distance. I was learning more about myself, about my inner strength, and how to deal with the difficult moments I had been facing. I started discovering new things about myself. In the past, I believed that I would never enjoy life again. But as the days passed, I began to notice the small things that brought me happiness: a smile from a stranger on the street, a warm cup of coffee in the morning, or even a quiet moment while reading. I am here to tell you that life doesn't need to be filled with big events for us to feel happiness. Sometimes, finding peace in small moments is enough. These little moments were what slowly restored my faith in life. I also tried to build a daily routine that helped me get rid of negative thoughts. I started my mornings with some exercise, even if only for 10 minutes. These short workouts gave me new energy. After that, I set aside time for reading or writing. These activities helped me release my emotions and gave me the chance to reflect calmly, away from pressure. Have you ever tried starting your day with something comforting and enjoyable? Maybe trying an activity you love or even exploring something new could be a good start. A simple routine can bring a big change to your life. But even though I started noticing improvement, not every day was easy. There were still difficult moments when negative thoughts tried to take over again. But I learned that these days were not the end of my journey. They were just reminders that I was still healing and that I needed to keep going. In those moments, I reminded myself of the thoughts that helped me in the beginning: take it one day at a time, and it's okay to take your time. I knew I was on the right path and that every small step was bringing me closer to full recovery. If you are going through difficult moments right now, I want you to remind yourself that it's okay if things aren't perfect. Healing is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. But with each new day, you are getting closer to the light. Remember, progress is not always visible, but it is happening. And you are strong enough to create change. Today, as I sit here writing these words, I can confidently say, I have healed. Maybe not completely, maybe there are still difficult days, but I have learned how to handle them. I have overcome the hardest phase, and now I am stronger than before. It's a strange feeling to look back and realize how much I have been through. In the beginning, I thought depression was the end of the road, but now I see that it was the start of a new journey. A journey where I learned more about myself than I ever imagined. During those moments when life seemed to leave me no choice but to give up, I had another option: to fight. I learned to be kind to myself, to accept my feelings as they were, and to not be ashamed of asking for help when I needed it. I learned that talking about what I feel is an essential part of healing. I have become more aware of my emotions. Now, I can pause and tell myself, these are negative thoughts, but I have control over them. When I face a difficult day, I don't give up. I stay patient and remind myself that this feeling will pass. But most importantly, I have learned how to enjoy life again. I may not be the same person I was before depression, but I see that as a good thing. I have discovered new sides of myself and have grown to appreciate the little things that make life beautiful. Now, I feel a sense of inner peace that I never had before. Do you know? Healing is not about going back to who you were. It's about growing and evolving into someone even better. Life after depression may be different, but it is filled with new opportunities. And in the end, I want you to know something important: you are not alone. If you are going through depression right now, remember that there is always hope. Healing is not impossible, and it begins with small steps. No matter where you are now, know that change is possible. You can come out of the dark tunnel, and you will find the light at the end. This is not the end, it is a new beginning. And every single day is a new chance to start again. Finally, I wish you a healing journey filled with inner peace. And I want you to know that you are strong enough to overcome anything that stands in your way.